Welcome to the Art of Living with a Dog. I'm Tamara Tokash, a master dog expert with a fresh perspective in everyday wellness protocols, hacks, and products for both ends of the leash, stemming the tide so you and your dog can thrive. I've questioned the norms and connected the dots to forge a unique path that truly transforms how you and your free-spirited companion live. Let's get digging.
Welcome back to the Art of Living with a Dog. In today's episode, Tamara breaks down the 10 most common mistakes that can sabotage your dog's house training progress. Whether you're raising a puppy, welcoming a rescue, or refreshing an older dog's routine, these tips will help you avoid confusion, frustration, and unnecessary setbacks.
So today we're going to talk about house training. It's the number one topic that people come to me for, and it's also the number one reason why dogs are surrendered and euthanized, unfortunately. And knowing that, it's also the one thing that we can really have a positive impact on and that we can control. So I'm going to give you, there's going to be two videos. The first video are all the mistakes that can be avoided, and just to make sure that you're not falling into that pit. And then the other video are habits and things that I encourage everybody to implement and do, because it really will make house training so much easier. So, a couple of other things. So house training falls under behavior. It's not obedience. It actually takes time for the concept to be learned. The other thing to keep in mind is because it's a behavior and every dog is different, every dog has a different learning style, and every dog is coming into this situation from a different background. So you may have a puppy. Most people should be getting puppies if they're getting them from a breeder. They should not be getting a puppy. A breeder, I should say, should not be relinquishing a puppy any sooner than 12 weeks of age. So if somebody has a puppy and they're trying to house train them, it's going to be much different if for some reason they have a puppy that is 8 weeks old compared to 12 weeks old, because dogs go through, they're called critical growth periods, and they go through them at a very rapid rate. So you might be on this video because you're looking for house training for your puppy. You might be on this video because you have adopted a dog, and maybe the dog was house trained, but your dog is now in a new environment. So with that comes stress, and with stress comes elimination. Or you might just have a dog that's not really old per se, but just a little bit older, and they might need a refresher course. So whatever reason you're here, I'm going to go through all of the, like I said, the mistakes that people tend to fall into that exacerbate and prolong house training. And keep in mind, we ask a lot of dogs. We ask a lot from them. So in this particular situation with house training, we're asking them to do something that is not really natural for them, right? Like if you picture a dog that's just a free dog, as I say, and they're out in the wild, they're just peeing and pooping wherever they please. Now, having said that, they do have an area where they reside. And in that area, they naturally and intuitively, they want to keep that space clean. So although we're asking them to do something that is not natural per se. It is natural in the context of being in the wild. So we have to work with them and we have to meet them halfway. Okay, 5 things to remember. Accidents are just accidents. That's it. And move on. Yelling will create accidents. I repeat, yelling creates accidents. Sighing falls in the category of yelling. It's not as intense, but if your dog just had an accident and you're moaning and groaning, oh gosh, that is going to create stress, and that stress is going to impede the learning, and your dog is not going to be house trained as quickly as he or she might be. The other thing to remember is a calm demeanor on your end and a calm home equals a happy dog, and a happy dog equals learning. So calm equals happy equals learning. Fourth thing is, if you have a puppy, their bladders are so tiny. And so, in other words, that just means they cannot hold urine for a long time. So as you're going through the house training process, each week and each month, as they grow, their bladder gets bigger and then they can hold the urine a little bit longer, which I'm not here to say that they should be holding urine long, but it's unrealistic to think that you're going to have a 12 or a 16-week-old dog that can hold their bladder for more than 45 minutes or an hour. And then it depends on the breed size and just the individual dog. And then the fifth thing to remember is dogs do not possess spite. So out of, I would say, 87% of clients that I'm on a house training appointment with, they'll say, "Oh no, he or she just peed because she's mad at me." That couldn't be furthest from the truth. That's not true. So they don't. They just it's one of many reasons. They're either confused, you're moving too fast, or there might be an underlying health issue, such as like a UTI, like a urinary tract infection. So it would behoove everybody to, if you're not really sure, just stick a little tray, like a French fry paper tray, underneath your dog when they go to the bathroom. It has to be the first urine in the morning, and just drive it over to your vet. Obviously, you have to put it in the container, not in the French fry tray, and let them just run a test on it and rule out that there are any infection there, because you don't want to be going through all of the steps for teaching your dog how to be house trained when they physically cannot hold their urine. So those are the things to keep in mind. And your job is to provide clarity. So, having this house training as a topic, this is the first opportunity you have to show up as a trustworthy advisor to your dog. And it's up to you to offer them a sound experience, and one that has clear boundaries and clear direction. 10 mistakes that people fall into when they're trying to house train their dog. Number one, they're just not paying attention. They're not realizing how quickly it can happen, how quickly a little urine accident can happen, which is most often the case, or how quickly a defecation accident can happen. So your job is to pay attention 110%. So think of, if you have a dog in your house, doesn't matter age or how the dog is in your house, and you're trying to teach your dog to be house trained, you need to pay attention, and you need to be thinking of them as, okay, I'm watching a 14-month-old child here. That's what it's like. The other mistake people make is the dog is not being put on a leash and taken outside. A lot of times people just open the door. They think, oh, I have a fenced in yard. Or I've even seen people take their dogs and tie them up and let them go out in the morning. And that's how they think that they're supposed to house train them. That's not how it works. You need to have your dog on a leash. You need to be on the other end of the leash, and you need to go outside with them. Number three, the third mistake. You're outside longer than 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a really long time to be outside with a dog that has to go to the bathroom. That's actually generous. I usually say 3, but for the purpose of this video, because these are just general um, suggestions and guidelines, 3 to 5. If you're out there for more than 5 minutes, your dog has no idea why you're out there. They're distracted and they're not going to go to the bathroom. And then you're going to go inside and they're going to have an accident inside. So set your watch, set a timer, 5 minutes, done. And then you go inside. Fourth mistake, you're giving your dog too much space and too much room inside. Your dog does not need an open floor kitchen, family room, mudroom, what have you. So if you have a very large area, or even if you don't have a large area, I see clients that have, because most people's homes have islands in them, you can't see, unless you have x-ray vision, you can't see your dog on the other side of the island. So you need to be watching your dog, and you also need to be shrinking the space. They make gates, they make wide gates. You can get double gates, so you can conjoin the gates together to accommodate a large threshold, but too much space and too much room inside. Fifth mistake, you're ignoring the successes that your dog is making. So if you take your dog outside, let's say 8 times a day, and even 2 times your dog is going to the bathroom, if you're not making the biggest deal out of your dog going to the bathroom, you're failing your dog. So what do I mean by you're ignoring successes? You need to be praising them. You need to be giving them, I call them an HVF, a high value food. So you don't want to be walking outside, holding high value food or piece of high value food, by the way, just so everybody knows. High value food is something that is actually recognizable as real food. So it would be a little piece of chicken, a little piece of steak, a little piece of turkey. It could be anything that is real food that your dog likes. And you keep it in your pocket. If you don't want to do that, you put it in a Ziploc bag, but you don't take it out until your dog has completed going to the bathroom. So make a big deal about the successes. Sixth mistake, this is high up there, and I mentioned it before, is reprimanding. Every time you reprimand your dog, directly or indirectly, you are preventing them from grasping the concept of house training. It's that simple. So it's like slapping a crying baby. Who would do that? So stop the reprimanding and put all your energy into setting your dog up for success. Another important point when it comes to reprimanding is that reprimanding will cause more elimination, like I mentioned. But the other thing that it does is it actually teaches dogs oftentimes to go and hide and then eliminate. And that is really problematic because sometimes people don't even know until days, even weeks later, that their dog has gone into another part of the house, in a corner, behind a chair, places where like we normally wouldn't go or even see, and they're eliminating. And so just another reason to underscore the dangers of reprimanding your dog. No schedule. Number 7, no schedule for the food, and there's no schedule for the bathroom. Dogs are creatures of habit and they need a set schedule. So If you're feeding your dog breakfast, and by the way, puppies under 6 months generally are fed 3 times a day. So that means there's more food going in. That means there should be food coming out, right? It's a simple math equation. So if you're feeding them at 8 a.m. one day, and then 10 a.m. another day, and then 6 a.m. another day, and 4 p.m. another day, if you're all over the charts, then your dog is going to be all over the charts with going to the bathroom in and around your house. So you have to have a schedule. You're going to like it, your dog's body's going to like it, and your dog will like it. Number 8, mistake, rugs. People have area rugs. Rugs are absorbent. So a dog will seek out a place that has a surface area that is absorbent so that the urine is not going on them. So that kind of goes back to my comment earlier in the intro when I was talking about in nature when dogs are nesting in a space. They're not like a chicken that just pees and poops in their nest, while a chicken's sitting on her eggs, a hen is sitting on her eggs. A dog will, like a fox, they will get up, and a coyote, they will get up, and a wolf get up and eliminate far outside their living quarters, and they keep their space clean. So a rug, if you have them, it's just for a short period of time. Pick them all up, roll them all up, move them out of the way. A point that I want to make about number 8 with the rugs is a lot of times whomever, breeders, retail stores, people are being told for one reason or another to use wee-wee pads to help teach a dog to be house trained. And that's not true. That it actually limits, it hinders, it creates problems for house training. So do not use wee-wee pads, don't use newspaper. It's just going to be a headache for everybody. There are certain uses for wee-wee pads, but that's not for this discussion. And we'll talk about that another time, maybe. The 9th mistake is you're delegating the house training to a child. This is not a task. This is not a chore, whatever you want to call it. This is not a responsibility for a child. This is where things get completely lost, and the children, no matter how adept they are, their timing is not there, and the dogs know it, and the dogs need timing. Timing I refer to as acknowledging good elimination or keeping on a time clock and, sticking to very detailed schedules. So let your children do other things. They could be brushing, they could be feeding, they could be teaching your dog different life skills, not commands, but life skills to help them assimilate into your world. And the 10th mistake that people make that really, really delays their dog in learning house training is they postpone expert help. I have a lot of clients that they just think, oh, my dog will just kind of like figure it out. And what ends up happening is that, just like all of us, we get into the wrong habits, and then we don't know how to get out of them. And our dogs rely on us to help them. So I hope these 10 mistakes, now that you know what they are, will give you a little bit more insight of what you should not be doing. And then in the next video, I'm going to give you 10 mores or habits to do that will definitely get your dog well on his or her way to being house trained. See you next time.
That wraps up today's episode. If any of these mistakes sounded familiar, don't worry, you're not alone. The good news is that awareness is the first step toward better results. In the next video, Tamara will walk you through the 10 positive habits to adopt for successful house training, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned. Until then, stay calm, stay consistent, and happy house training.